welcome back. It's good to see you again. How are you feeling today? Okay. So today is your 7th therapy session, and we're going to be continuing what we started last week, where we were looking at evaluating the accuracy of your negative automatic thoughts. So those thoughts that are responsible for your discomfort and your distress. And we talked about something called thinking filters, which are particular patterns of thinking that we use, particularly when we are feeling bad, that tend to make our mood worse. Now, if you'd like a reminder of what we talked about last week, you can watch a recording here. It should pop up on the screen. Okay. So, let's begin by thinking about how your week has been. You are keeping a diary for me every day, recording your mood. So, that's a good place to start. Shall I take a look? Thank you. Okay. Yes, I can see you've had some okay days. Some quite challenging days. Okay. So, I'm going to show you an exercise today, which is going to help you to look at the evidence that supports your thoughts, your negative automatic thoughts, and compare that to the evidence that contradicts it as a part of this process of evaluating how accurate these thoughts are. Because if they are going to be causing you high levels of distress and discomfort, they should at the very least be accurate representations of what is happening in the world. Otherwise, maybe we don't need to be listening to them. Okay, so first of all, we need one of your thoughts so that we can begin the evaluation process. So let's have a look here in your diary. One from last week. Okay, here's one. I messed up at work. I'm going to lose my job, and I won't be able to find another, and I will end up unable to meet my responsibilities. Should we use that one? I can see that it caused you a high level of anxiety. You had an 8 out of 10. Okay. Okay, so let's begin by rating the strength of your belief at the time, if you can. So, could you give me a rating for that belief as a percentage? So, did you believe that 100%? Was there a part of your mind that maybe doubted it a little bit? Okay. 85%. Okay. Right, so the first part of this exercise, we are going to look at all the evidence that your mind is using to support this thought. I'll write it down so you can just sit and listen, and I'll give you my notes at the end to take away and look at. Okay. So, evidence to support this thought. I messed up at work. I'm going to lose my job. I won't be able to find another. And I'm going to end up unable to meet my responsibilities. Now, I want you to share with me any evidence, all evidence, no matter how irrational it sounds when you say it out loud. And actually that is part of this exercise, because often it's not until we say things out loud that we're able to start to question them. So some of your evidence should sound a little dodgy, maybe. That's how it should be. Okay, so can you think of? Okay, good start. So my boss has very high standards. What else? Okay. It was a stupid mistake to make. Okay. What else? Okay. I struggled to find this job. Okay, I have lots of responsibilities and there is a lot of pressure on me to meet them. Anything else? Okay. I think that's an important one because I think that sometimes we just feel that something is true. Maybe in the absence of any kind of concrete evidence. So I just feel that this is going to happen. That's an important one and a very common one. I just really feel this is going to happen. Okay. Now, second part is to put that part of your mind, so that's the part of your mind that was kind of buying into this thought, 85% to one side. And then we want to bring in that other part of your mind, the part of your mind that, the 15% that's questioning this a little bit. That's maybe the part of your mind we talked about last week and we labelled the healthy adult. So this is the part of your mind that is calm and considered, a little bit more objective. It might be the part of your mind that you tend to use a little bit more when you're speaking to a friend about their problems. Okay, it's the less emotional part of our mind. So let's go through these pieces of evidence one by one and see what your healthy adult mind says about them. So if we begin with, my boss has very high standards. What would your healthy adult say about that? Okay, my boss does have high standards, but she is pretty reasonable and I have always been able to find a way to talk to her. Okay, next one. It was a stupid mistake to make. What does your healthy adult mind say about that? Okay, so most mistakes are stupid. That is the nature of them. But human beings make them because they are not machines. We are not machines. It's not great, but it's not the end of the world. I can manage the fallout. Good. Okay, so number 3. I struggled to find this job. What does your healthy adult say about that? That 15% of your mind. Good. Okay, so yes, that's true. You did struggle to find the job, but with hard work and perseverance, you did find it. So I can do it again if I have to. Okay. Next one. I have a lot of responsibilities. There is a lot of pressure on me to meet them. What do you think about that? Okay. So I do have a lot of responsibilities, but I've always found a way of meeting them. Just because I'm not completely sure what that would look like if I lost my job now, I would be able to work something out. Okay. Last one. I just really feel that this is going to happen. What do you think about that? Absolutely. Absolutely, feelings aren't facts. So let's start with that. Feelings aren't facts. What about the likelihood of this happening? Okay, so it is incredibly unlikely that I would lose my job because of this. The worst that could happen is a verbal warning, maybe a written one, but both of these are unlikely. My boss will probably just have a quiet chat with me. Good. Okay, so we've looked at all the pieces of evidence that were supporting this thought. Is there anything extra that your healthy adult wants to add? Okay. So, I've made mistakes of a similar level of seriousness before, and I've always worked something out. Is this something that you often find yourself doing, making these kind of predictions about the future? It is. Okay, so I do this. I predict the worst, and that I won't be able to cope with it. Can you think of a time when that was ever the case, when either of those two things, predicting the worst and then you not being able to cope with it, came true? Okay, so that's important, isn't it? I can't think of a time when either of these predictions came true. Okay, so the next step is just to review what we have written. So, my boss has very high standards. She does have high standards, but she's pretty reasonable, and I've always been able to find a way to talk to her. It was a stupid mistake to make. Most mistakes are. That is the nature of mistakes. But human beings make them because they are not machines. It's not great, but it's not the end of the world. I can manage the fallout. I struggled to find this job. Yes, but with hard work and perseverance, I did find it, and I can do it again if I have to. Okay, number 4 was, I have a lot of responsibilities. There is a lot of pressure on me to meet them. And your healthy adult response to that was, I do have a lot of responsibilities, but I have always found a way of meeting them. And just because I am not completely sure what that would look like if I lost my job now, I would be able to work something out. And your last one was, I just really feel that this is going to happen. And we said for that, feelings aren't facts. It's incredibly unlikely that I would lose my job because of this. The worst that could happen is a verbal warning, maybe a written one. But both of these are also unlikely. My boss will probably just have a quiet little chat with me. And then a couple of extra things. I've made mistakes of a similar level of seriousness before. I've always worked something out. And finally, I do this. I predict the worst, and also that I will not be able to cope with it. I can't think of a time when either of these predictions came true. Okay. So now, at the beginning, you rated that initial belief 85%. Let me just read that back to you. I messed up at work. I'm going to lose my job. I won't be able to find another, and I will end up unable to meet my responsibilities. What rating would you give that now, after considering the evidence for and the evidence against? Okay, so about 50%. Okay, let's write that down. So this little exercise has brought your anxiety down by 35%. So that's a fair amount. That's good. Now, what I'd like you to do this week is obviously continue with your diary. At the end of every day, just noting down the level of your emotions on a scale of 0 to 10. And then pulling out those negative automatic thoughts when your emotions are rising quite high. And then if you find that you can't dismiss those thoughts, I'd like you to try this exercise. Maybe aiming for twice, maybe 3 times in a week. Obviously, the more that you practice this type of way of thinking about your thoughts, the better you'll get at it, and the more effective it will be at bringing down your anxiety. Just on a first go, it reduced your anxiety by 35%, which is significant, particularly for a first go. So the more you do this, the more effective it will be. How does that sound? Okay. Do you have any thoughts or questions or worries about any of that? About anything else? Okay, good. Okay, so next week we are going to move on a little and start looking at the helpfulness of those negative automatic thoughts. Okay, so it was nice to see you today, and I will see you the same time next week. Bye-bye.